Thanks for joining us this morning. We are figuring it out here in terms of doing this virtual. We have had the pleasure of hosting 8 of these in previous years, all in person. Of course, this year we're living in a different world and we have to do different things. So we are going to move forward with making this hopefully a productive and informative virtual meeting. We are here, there's several of us here in the conference room at the Mukwonago Community Library, remaining socially distanced. But thankfully, the majority of the folks involved here are yourselves out connecting in via Zoom. We're going to have a format similar to previous years. If you've participated during previous years, where there's some opening comments, and then we'll get to the main part of the program, and that's hearing from village leadership to hear about the things that have been happening and are going to happen in the village. We are reliant on technology here. We're going to be sharing some slides and such. So hopefully the technology and the Wi-Fi and all that comes together. If we can make it work, we'll try to have some question and answers near the end of the event. Everybody should be on mute. Obviously with 60, 70, 80 people on the call, things can happen, dogs barking, things like that. So if you can make sure that you're on mute, we can move forward a little more efficiently here. So we're going to open the meeting here. Glad you could join us. This is the 9th annual State of the Village meeting. I had the pleasure of opening the first annual State of the meeting we had back in January of 2013 at Village Hall, where young village president, Fred Wachowski, was fairly new to the job, and now he's a seasoned veteran as time goes on here. But let's get things started. We here in the library have a flag. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. You can talk along or say it along with us if you'd like, but we're going to do it here. So if you can please rise here in the library and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, great. You have the next slide, or next 2 slides, please. One more, please. One more. Yeah, one more. Okay. So some introductions here, just to identify those who RSVP'd and maybe in attendance both here in the room as well as online. Of course, we have our village leadership, our president and administrator, Diana Dykstra, village clerk, treasurer, Ron Bittner. We have some trustees on the call as well. Darlene Johnson, trustee and county supervisor. April, who was instrumental in getting the word out on this event and is always very helpful to our events and of course the entire community. Sean McNulty, who's had a challenging job this year, keeping schools open and doing what's right there. So Sean on the call, as well as our chief of police and our fire chief is here to make sure that the 9 of us in here don't exceed the capacity in the room. Justine is here, the fire chief as well. Next slide, please. As far as the Rotary Club, we remain a small and mighty force in terms of the board of directors. Wait for the slide to change. Did I mention that technology is going to be?
I think we're on the cloud. Yeah. They're seeing Rotary Club right now.
They are? Oh, we're just not seeing it here?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Well, I am the current president. We have Mark Blodgett, who's here in the room, immediate past president. Then we have Jerry Pfeiffer, treasurer, Rachel, who's instrumental in putting on this event and was the lead in organizing this. Dustin Lehman handles our vocational service. Dr. Tom McKeever is our club service. Peter Barrett is our community service. And Rick Debe is our international service director. So a little bit about Rotary. Next slide, please. Tell me if they're seeing it. I'm getting text from my staff. The slides aren't.
They're not?
Nope, not at all. I said it not all or slowly. I said not at all.
Okay. How about now? Let me reshare.
Reshare. We'll give it a shot. If not, we will go on to Fred.
You see that?
Yes.
By Rotary?
Yes,
Are they going up?
now they saw it.
Okay. So, I'm in Y Rotary.
Okay. So just a little bit about Rotary. Rotary has been around for well more than a century. And thought I would highlight the fact that Rotary's, one of their primary missions over the last 30-something years has been polio eradication. And of course, with the environment we're living in now, with a virus that started in a remote part of the world and spread across the world, focused on polio, which hopefully most of us on the call here are vaccinated against, but it still exists. And there was 350,000 cases just over 30 years ago. And we were down to about 80 or 100 in the world last year, but this year it's actually increased back up to 400 or so. So while we as a society and as a world continue to focus on the coronavirus, Rotary remains focused on eliminating polio completely so that it never spreads from where it exists right now, which is primarily in Pakistan and Afghanistan, and spreads in different parts of the world. But generally, Rotary is a community-based organization with global reach, promoting peace, fighting disease, clean water and sanitation, helping mothers and children around the world, supporting education, which we certainly make as a primary goal here in our local community, as well as growing local economies. But everything we do is guided by the four-way test, which we plan on closing the meeting with. Next slide, if we can get to it. And every year we have around 35 members, including some great corporate members, including the Village and Pro Health. We raise funds and donate over $20,000 of cash, gift cards, in-kind gifts to various causes, organizations, and projects. To highlight a few of those that we've done over the last few years. Next slide, please. We've given technical education scholarships, which we just made a decision last night to increase those for this coming graduating class. We support student organizations, including robotics, Adopt a Family, the Makerspace group space here in the library we donated to. One of our main focuses over the last couple of months has been the food pantries, and including the kitchen cupboard, Norris Academy. We provided some funds for an outdoor outdoor activity area that they have, as well as we are involved in the efforts that are coming up this coming summer in terms of the temporary stage and the performances and such, which you're probably going to hear more about when we get into some of the village items. Advanced slides, if you could. All right, so Adopt a Family, that's at the holidays. We're involved in the Pro Health Park Walk. As far as the tree project in our school, as well as the village tree project that's going, that's been ongoing. State of the Village, which we do here every year in January, and then National Night Out. Next slide, please. All right, so an event that we were unfortunately not able to hold this last fall was the Jack-O-Lantern Jaunt. We are co-sponsors along with the original founders of that event. That helps raise funds. You've seen our sheds and playhouses over the years. We had one this last year, which was a challenge given the pandemic. But that's a project that we have in teaming with the high school building trades. We have the opportunity to be part of Balloons Over at McGuanago and the upcoming concert series. And of course, we've had 2 Rotary Presents. McGuanago's Got Talent 1 and 2, which helped raise a lot of the funds that we have to use, as well as an evening with John McGivern, which I'm going to give you an update on here in just a bit. And we have a COVID-friendly fundraiser going on right now, the Drive-Through Beer Garden. Next slide, please. All right, so this is an event that's been going on for a few weeks now. We have a couple days left. And what the idea here is, we have teamed with the East Troy Brewery to put together a box containing 2 32-ounce crowlers with various types of not homebrew, but their own beer, as well as a couple of take and bake pretzels and a small jar of mustard and a couple of pint glasses for the occasion. Boxes are $50 for beer. We also have a root beer option for $40. Proceeds are going to the food pantry. We have 20 or so boxes left. Sales end at the end of this week. Pickup in a COVID-friendly way is on February 6th at Americana Flower Station. And conveniently in your chat box, you'll see a link that will take you right to the sales site, the website, where you can purchase your own box if you would like. So appreciate that. Next slide, please. And Evening with John McGivern. We were about a week to 10 days away from having the show with over 700 tickets sold. It can be a great fundraiser. And then, of course, everything happened last March, and we had to postpone that. We've rescheduled it a few times. Right now, we have John McGivern booked for this coming fall, September 18th. So we have over 575 tickets still outstanding. Tickets hopefully will go back on sale this summer if we can, but of course we're continually monitoring the health situation and the health condition, and we will have to make a determination later this summer on whether or not we can have this show in September. Right now, tickets are still valid, and we are certainly hoping we're going to be able to have the show in 7 months, but of course, we're all watching the news and vaccines and seeing what's happened there. So thanks for your patience with the technology. I am going to turn it over to Fred to talk about the village and then go from there. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Good morning. Again, I want to thank Mark and Jim and the Rotary Club for the opportunity to speak to all of you this morning about the village. 2020 is a year that will be talked about and referred to, I believe, for generations. Just think of what we've gone through. COVID-19 has caused shortages of all kinds, even toilet paper. I mean, you got to think of it. Businesses closed by government orders, racial unrest, primary elections, travel bans, church closings, stay-at-home orders, school closings, a hotly contested presidential election, and now COVID-19 is coming on the scene again. Hopefully, we finally have a vaccine. The seriousness of these events have affected each of us and our families in various ways. I am hopeful, I am positive we will all be stronger as we come out of this stressful time. Our village did lose several small businesses directly related to these events. Bear Fitness, Gordman's Department Store, both closed for good. Retail markets took a strong hit as the stores closed and hours changed. People were forced to shop online. Who knows for sure if actual sales at retail stores will recover to pre-pandemic levels. So there may be fewer actual stores to shop at. Bear Fitness and other gym-style businesses like our YMCA were closed as non-essential businesses. No customers, no revenue. Doesn't take long to figure out what happens there. The YMCA was closed for an extended time. I recently had the opportunity to speak with Rick Swan from the Y, and he did give me some positive news. Their numbers had dropped from 3,000 visits a day to 0. Now they're slowly improving. They're up to around 23 to 2,400 visits per day. However, their very popular child programs are not rebounding as quickly as they'd like. They are only at about 50% of their former capacity. This reflects that more people continue to work from home and the need just isn't back up there yet. Area restaurants still are struggling with reduced hours and seating capacities. In summer, outdoor seating did help some. Several went to carry out only orders like Jen's Kitchen. Seniors on the Go taxi service had a period of almost complete closure. The stay-at-home order made it very difficult as no one could go anywhere. Dental, doctor appointments were delayed, stores were closed, hours were changed, movie theaters were empty, etc. So you can see there were problems. However, I spoke to Jack Weber, the director of the Seniors on the Go, and as I mentioned, they went from over 200 rides a day to 20. He says now things are improving and riders are picking back up again as stores are open and appointments can be continued at doctor's offices. They finished out with some remarkable numbers for the year considering. Over 26,000 individual rides, totaling 440,000 miles. That's like driving to the moon and almost back. They used 20,000 gallons of fuel as well. The demand is increasing again and they need qualified drivers. They currently have 20 vehicles in their fleet, 9 of which are compatible for wheelchairs. They also continue to work with the Mukwonago School District to provide rides for some students. This service started in 2007. They have 14 years of service in our community to our citizens. This is a much needed and as shown used service, serving not only our village, but throughout the surrounding community. They provide service 6 days a week. Pro Healthcare was very instrumental and helpful getting this program started when they first came to the community and they saw there was a need for senior transportation. And we have the program we have today. This last December, we lost our very popular librarian, Angie Zimmerman. Ms. Zimmerman left us for a much larger library system in the city and county of Racine. Her 4 years here were much too short and went by much too fast. I can only imagine, as many others do, what else she could have done for our library if she had stayed for another 4 years. She came to us from the Palmyra system during a time of transition in our library. She showed our community how to think outside of the box related to library usage. She made our library more than just books and videos. She started and improved special programs for children and seniors. The exceptional international festival drew people from all around the community and all outside the area. The Winter Farmer Markets, the Meta 511 computer space in partnership with our high school. Angie worked very hard with her staff to reopen the library during this pandemic. This was to help meet the needs of people in Mukwonago, using curbside pickup and so much more. She's also working on an expansion and reorganizing interior spaces to improve space already available. I know her seemingly tireless energy level and positive attitude will win her supporters wherever she works. The library board has appointed Martha Reel as the interim librarian while they search for a permanent replacement. Martha is a retired and very experienced librarian who is doing a great job keeping everything smoothly running as possible during this transition. Moving on. One of the very important projects that occurred over 2020 was the reconstruction of the ES Bridge over the Fox River. This project was originally supposed to close County Highway ES roadway to all traffic from April through October. The detour was almost 15 minutes long. Emergency services would have really been hampered by the extended response time to our area residents, making a 2 or 3 minute run into a 15 to 17 minute run. With the help of Mrs. Darlene Johnson and the County Highway Department, we were able to make a deal to keep this bridge open during construction. Mrs. Johnson serves on both our village board and on the county board. She was able to get the county to set a cost for keeping the bridge open during construction. This cost came in at $30,000. She set up some meetings between all the jurisdictions who were directly involved: the town of Mukwonago, the village of Vernon, the village of Mukwonago, and Waukesha County. Each community needed to chip in money to meet this $30,000 cost. We all were able to agree, and the bridge remained open during construction. Now, it wasn't easy getting across, but at least the bridge was open. This was truly a challenge to do, and we need to make sure that Mrs. Johnson has our appreciation for making this work for the benefit of all the communities involved. Thank you, Darlene. As I mentioned earlier, small business continued to be hard hit during the pandemic. The village board came up with an idea of trying to help local businesses. The purpose of this program was to provide businesses within the corporate boundaries of our village a direct financial support. The goal was to help businesses under $1 million of annual sales. The village found $25,000 to use for this program. However, when Citizens Bank in Mukwonago heard about the program, they matched their funds, and now we had $50,000 to use for these direct grants. A recommending subcommittee was set up with 5 people, 2 elected officials, 2 staff members, and 1 village business owner that was not eligible for a grant. The village passed resolution 2020-34. This created an ad hoc small business grant committee to make these selections. The funding could be used for rent, mortgages, leases, employee retention, lighting, improved technology, or any other ideas that were acceptable to the committee. The program started out in July, and on September 24th, checks were sent out. They reviewed 51 applications and authorized 25 businesses to receive $2,000 each. I'm very pleased we were able to help small businesses in our village in this way. It doesn't sound like much money, but it showed our commitment to them. And the members of the ad hoc committee were very, very helpful. The committee members were Trustee John Miners, Trustee Daniel Adler. Village staff members were Wayne Castle from the Sewer and Water Utility and Lisa Burnt from our village financial department. Mr. Mark Green from the Lynch Automotive Group of Mukwonago was also instrumental. Thanks to all of you for your extra efforts to help with this important project. In July, the village partnered with the Carl James Company to update and renew our branding and village logo. The board set up a branding narrative that we feel puts into words what our village represents. It is used to remind us why we love living here. This also shows others what those reasons are. I'll quote a little bit from it, but I don't want to read the whole thing, obviously. It's where open spaces, park, and waterways converge, safe surroundings, and also economic opportunity. Activities abound year-round. The village invests significantly in its park systems, and our festivals provide family fun, including Father's Day parades, homecoming parades, and Christmas parades. Festivals include Summerfest, Balloon Fest, Fall Fest, Midnight Magic, along with the monthly Maxwell Street Days and a weekly farmers market. There is more, but you get the idea. The branding message is used to promote our community to anyone interested in coming into the area. The new logo included our black bear, trees, and cattails. These are used to represent our parks, the waterways, and Phantom Lake. The new logo will be used on all official village items and documents. So, speaking of events, what a tough time it was for those. Maxwell Street Days did go on, but in a reduced manner to comply with social distancing and other CDC guidelines. Summerfest events was canceled, as was the parade. April and the chamber tried hard to reschedule, but they still had to cancel our second Balloon Fest. The weekly farmers market in Field Park went on, but in an unusual way. One-way walking, one side of the street vendors in a very large circle. Masks and hand sanitizers were used. However, the effort was well worth it. This was a much appreciated outdoor activity for our area residents. Fall Fest was also spread out over a much larger area, coming from the downtown area all the way down to Front Street. Certain activities were downsized or canceled. However, as it was an outside event and perfect weather, it was very well attended. Now Lake Roland Chamber had to figure out what to do and downsize the Midnight Magic. The indoor markets were canceled, and so was the parade. Stores had restrictions on numbers of people, so it was hard. However, the number of people watching the fireworks display was probably the largest crowd that I have seen. You could tell people really wanted to be outside. They needed this distraction. Cars were parked all over Indian Head Park and up and down Crestview Drive. Rivercrest Drive, sorry. 2020 saw the village clerk's office very busy, not just with the usual day-to-day operations, but two major national elections. Diana Dykstra and her staff had their hands full. Trying to run an election under regular times is difficult. However, throw in a pandemic, judicial court rulings at the last minute, and you really have something. She worked to train the staff to do the very best possible and the public and save them from the coronavirus. Working with our Public Works Department, Ron Bittner and his crew put up plastic barriers and other safety screens to keep everyone as safe as possible. The population of our village is currently 8,135 people. Of that population, 5,416 are registered voters. The turnout for voters was 4,995. This means 92% of registered voters voted in the 2020 election. Absentee ballots were at an all-time high as well. This was related to the COVID issues. 3,361 absentee ballots were counted in Waukesha County alone, with another 76 counted in our Walworth County areas. Our election inspectors are people who are our neighbors and friends. As Diana has said, and I'll quote from a report that she made, without these individuals, our elections would not run as smoothly as they have. They're truly a cornerstone of our democratic process. Their dedication is above reproach. I couldn't agree more. They truly put themselves and their families at risk during this pandemic time. We are fortunate that no one was reported infected during our elections. They rose to the challenge, and we are all the better for it. Thank you to those people. Public Works had an extremely busy year. They completed a large road construction project in River Park Estates. The $1.1 million project included replacing 64 stormwater catch basins, upgrading some sidewalks and handicap ramps and curbs, also pulverizing and redoing the asphalt through most of that subdivision. Many of these roadways were over 35 years old. More efficient LED streetlights were also installed during this project. This coming year, road work will center on the Triangle neighborhood. Now, I don't have an audience here, so I said, does anybody know where that is? I had to figure out where it was. The only trustee who knew it off right away was Daniel Adler. This is the area of Jefferson Street between South Rochester Street and Main Street. To the south, that would be Front Street as the other border. Parts of Beecham, Field, Andrews, and Blood Street will be redone during the summer. This will also include repairs to sidewalks, curbs, catch basins, and gutters. Public Works also oversaw the replacement of over 800 linear feet of bad sidewalks throughout the village. This includes sidewalks in Two Rivers, Fox Street, River Park Estates, and minor subdivision. Moving on, our Tree City program continued. Ron was able to apply and receive an urban forestry grant from the DNR. This grant is a matching grant for $4,950. The village match will be used through labor and equipment. This will help replace some 84 trees throughout the community. This is related, again, to this ash borer beetle problem that you've heard me talk about before that's been so destructive on our trees. These trees are located in the terrace or landscape areas, which are located between the street curb and the sidewalks. Also in May, we worked with the Girl Scout Troop 4730 to distribute free trees on Arbor Day. Because of COVID restrictions, we did a drive-by type program where the Girl Scouts handed out trees to people in their cars. Public Works oversaw also the installation of a new emergency generator at our village hall. This will allow the hall to be used as an emergency center should we need it during a storm or other disaster. They also completed the last part of the playground equipment in Minnewacan Park. They also will complete the remodeling of the Indian Head Beach this spring. This summer, we'll be constructing a multi-use trail and pedestrian bridge over the Fox River. This will connect the Fox River View subdivision to the Two Rivers subdivision. This project has been in the 5-year plan and was approved for capital plan in 2021. This will allow for the safe movement of pedestrians along ES and over the river. Our joint fire department, hope I'm not taking anything away from you, Chief, but our joint fire department will take delivery of a new piece of equipment. It is currently being built in South Dakota by Rosenbauer. Okay, I'll make sure I said the name right. This apparatus will replace 2 currently older units. The new truck is a combined pumper and water tender. This truck will be stationed at Station 1 over on Fox Street. The cost of this unit is $740,000 and has a use cycle of 25 to 30 years. The delivery date has been pushed back because of COVID issues. Okay, financially, the village continues to be in good shape. The annual audit by Baker Tilly was completed and no issues were found. The village will pay down another $2.9 million on our debt this coming year. This allows us to maintain our AA bond rating, which allows us to borrow money at the lowest market rate available. Our reserves are above required limits. This is a credit to our department heads and staff who continue to be good stewards of the tax resources given them to provide services that we have come to expect. The equalized value of our village is now set at, this is just a tough number to say, $992,994,900 from the DOR. That's from Wisconsin Department of Revenue. That's just an amazing amount. The real estate market, the reason part of this is the real estate market continues to be very strong. National and local sales continue to rise. Historic low interest rates averaging 2.77 for a 30-year loan and 2.21 for a fixed 15-year loan continue to fuel this trend. People are looking for larger homes and communities with good schools like we have here. Thank you, Sean. Being shut up at home shows a need for space for working, and also some schools children that still have to stay at home and be schooled from home. So it is no surprise that there are currently 11 new homes under construction in the Belinsky Fairwind subdivision alone, as well as another 5 in the last stages of the Orchard subdivision on ES. The underground work and roadway infrastructure has been completed for the Belinsky Chapman Village condos project, with construction to begin anytime. They expect this project to be completed in over 2 to 3 years. It's 44 units in 22 different buildings. We have several projects that are in progress or just recently completed. We have 2 new storage facilities available. They both were completed and are now open. Box shelf storage is located on Highway ES next to the Midway Market, and the other is called Storage Works, WERKS, located on McQuantico Drive, just north of Bayview Road on our south side. Construction continues in our TID number 5 industrial park on Highway 83. Baker Wire, along with Bryan Builders, are constructing 154,000 square foot building on 15 acres of land on Hill Court and Boxhorn Drive. This building will be completed by fall. The value will be in the $10.5 to $11 million range. Baker Wire was looking to expand and add space, so they decided to build another building with extra room so that they could rent it out. Malcolm Drilling will move into their recently completed building on Hill Court soon. This building is 15,000 square feet on 9.6 acres of land, valued at $2.5 million. The building includes office space, maintenance space for repairs and storage. We also learned recently that there's interest in our last 15 acres. However, it's too early in the stages of negotiation, so I really don't have any details. The Point Apartment project has been completed. The last building was given occupancy and they are currently renting units. This project is located at 915 Main Street on the former site of the Kepler Horder Lynch Chevy dealership. BECO completed the project, which is 87 units in 4 different buildings, including studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom units. The project was built by a local contractor, Campbell Construction. As of January 19th, 69 of the 87 units are already rented. The tenants include retired people, medical workers, government workers, and so on. Income levels average in the area of $64,000. Many people are new to the area. The quickness related to the renting of these apartments continues to show a very high demand for affordable housing, which is what apartments are. The market will determine future developments in our community. When there is no demand, developers will not develop. They respond to market needs and trends. They do this all on their own. Markets have a way of finding their own level. We don't need to interfere. Right now, we are in a very strong position in this community. Following last month's figures, unemployment puts Waukesha County at 4% unemployment. Considering last year it was 2.9%, I understand it's higher. However, compared to other areas in our state or in our nation, we are doing fine. Still remembering that every job is very important. Since I've been talking about development, I guess this would be a way to introduce our new village planner, John Fellows. Mr. Fellows comes to us from the warm city of Columbia, South Carolina. He worked there and focused on long-range and short-range planning, zoning, annexations, urban design, and historic preservation. He also served on a pedestrian and bicycle advisory committee. John has also worked in the village of Menomonee Falls and helped with their land use issues and gateway streetscaping. I will appoint him to our downtown development committee next month. And as you have just heard me say, he has considerable experience, and I expect we will put him to good use. Not only in the downtown area, but throughout our village. Welcome, John, and welcome back to winter. 3 degrees this morning. Lastly, I'll close with reading our village mission statement. Village statement reads, to maintain a village atmosphere with city amenities through planned, sustainable growth and visionary leadership. I believe your village board has this vision, leadership, and our priority has always been stability with economic opportunity for all. I want to thank all of you for the attention and time and technical difficulties if there were. Also, I want to thank the village board and all of our staff for their hard work and dedication to make our community as successful as it is, especially during these uncertain times. Please always remember, continue to move forward. Now, if you remember a news flash or I interrupt this program for an important bulletin, those of you that are my age. Yesterday, John and I were on a conference call with Pro Healthcare. We spoke with Bradley Treachel of Pro Health. He relayed to us that Pro Health is restarting the hospital project in Mukwonago. They need to resubmit some plans to the state. However, they expect to restart interior construction this May. They expect the project to be completed in 9 to 12 months with an early 2020 completion. Everything is the same as originally planned, 24 rooms, surgical operating rooms, cafe, pharmacy, etc. This project, if you remember, is a $55 to $60 million investment in the village of Mukwonago. Also, this brings another 100 new jobs to the community and to the area. I can't say enough that we are all very pleased to hear that this project is going forward. So with that, I'll complete it. Again, thank you for your time.
Get the slides.
Let me go over to John.
Go to John Wayell.
Let me see if I can.
Morning, everybody. Let's wait for the slides to load here. It's okay. Can they see it?
Have to put it in the slideshow.
Oh.
One second. Okay. Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Some of the information in the slideshow is duplicative of what Fred stated, so I will gloss through some of that, and then there's some brand new stuff. So we will dive right in. First picture I want to show you, next slide, is our new logo, which you saw on the front. It's got the year of the Village's incorporation as a government entity, which is 1905. It has our tagline, Place of the Bear, and then all of the items that our village president described. So there it is. We have it on mugs. We will soon have it on other paraphernalia and items available to the community. And I look forward to many versions of this, different sorts of colors popping up over the next few years. Next slide. We're going to dive right into some of the developments in our internal departments. The first one is our building department. The building department this last year has gone online for its permitting and inspections, which has not only helped speed up the process, but also help us be more available to the public and to our developers during the COVID pandemic. We're also doing virtual inspections, and just yesterday the village received its drone. So we now have a drone to do building inspections. This will also be used by various public safety and public works entities to do safety checks and other things. Next slide. Clerk's office.
It's not changing on here, so, but it's
Okay. The clerk's office, which is next, some of their major accomplishments are again electronic in form. They've applied for grants to deal with added expenses. These have gone to put in collection boxes for election ballots. We have a new agenda management system. If any of you have joined us online for our meetings, we live stream live as the meeting's going, and then it's also archived. And when if you want to go into the agenda packet online and see a specific part of the agenda, you can simply click on the agenda item and it will forward you to the appropriate place in the video. We also have a new online records management system, and we changed our collection installments for taxes, which were at 3 per year down to 2, which matches the county collection system and saves us some costs. Continuing with that, just keep going. Okay, continuing with that, we did implement electronic poll books for our elections. As President Winchowski stated, we had the highest turnout ever, I believe, in the village, and we utilized funds from the state to purchase an absentee ballot drop box, which is under video surveillance 24 hours a day, and make other various upgrades to our elections in order to make things more streamlined with the environment we now find ourselves in. The clerk's goals for 2021 is updating some more of our older filing systems. We're going to work on an elected officials handbook, which we have mostly in form. Implement the new branding logo across the village. We're going to get a new seal, which is the actual stamper we use to stamp documents and notarize documents. And we're going to codify our ordinance book. As you add new ordinances and make changes over time, you have to stop and recodify the whole system, both in person and online, kind of like the blue books from the state of Wisconsin, to make sure that all of the information is the most current and up to date. I'm going to talk a little bit about the fire department here, and then I'm going to bring Chief Stein in to talk about some of the things that have been happening in his department due to COVID. The largest thing happening in the fire department is we did a study of the department last year. The village and the town share a jointly funded department. And that study showed to us we have some work to do. We need to make some long-term staffing adjustments to keep pace with the workload. And there are some other operational internal things that we can do to make things more efficient and effective. So they'll be working on that over the next year or so, probably take 3 years all in. With that, they have had some COVID challenges. The fire department's been meeting weekly. They've been a part of the testing program. We do anticipate the vaccine coming out soon, and we are training to be a point of distribution. So with that, Chief Stein, if you just want to come up here for a second, talk a little bit to the community about some of the things that are happening and some of the things they should be aware of.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to give you an update when it comes to the vaccine distribution. We did have some individuals, including myself, that did go through the COVID process. And fortunately, with the steps that we've taken, we've kind of limited the impact of that was earlier when it first came out. When it comes to the vaccine, as we all know, Group 1A, which is healthcare providers primarily, we did work with the county chiefs. We're going to be a closed type of vaccination clinic to help get all the healthcare providers completed. As that program's kind of progressed, it's learned that it's for us to provide personnel to assist in the program is better than having a bunch of little sites. With that being said, we do have weekly meetings via Zoom with the Chiefs Association to give us updates, also with our medical director, Doc Schultz, who informs us with the county management, emergency management on the next step. Obviously, 1B has come out, which includes police officers and those individuals that are 65 and older. Once again, the limiting portion of this is the accessibility to the vaccine itself. So with that being said, some of the recommendations that we currently have is that if you are 65 in that group, 65 and older, that you need to contact your healthcare system to schedule through them. I know I did see a thing from Pro Healthcare that was encouraging that also, but once again, a lot of those assignments have already been filled or are full while they're waiting for more vaccines to get here. The one big thing to keep in the back of your head, and I'm sure everybody's heard it, is this is a 2-dose vaccine that we get. We get it 21 days later, we get another one. So once again, there's a lot of doses that have to be given, and the control on the vaccine itself to make sure that it's good. Obviously, it has to be shipped very cold and those types of things. The next group, which it looks like says they should tentatively be eligible due on availability on March, beginning of March, would be school systems, educators, teachers, child care, frontline healthcare essential personnel, living facility staff and residents of that such. So all I can ask is that as we progress in this, it'll get better, it'll get quicker, but we have to have patience in the beginning. This is a huge, huge on-take by the nation as a whole, and even, all the countries that are out there to deal with this. And it'll get done. It's just when the availability and administration and there's can be taken care of, because the biggest thing is the tracking. Who gets it? Make sure you get your second dose in the time that's appropriate for that, so that it's not unsuccessful. I do know that with talking with the county emergency management yesterday, they are looking to do a closed mass vaccination for the group 1A as they finish up with those, and then 1B will be after that. So they'll be setting up some site there, but once again, for those that are in the 1B group, public safety individuals, the 65 and older, please contact your healthcare facilities to schedule those vaccinations. That's the best thing. I know there's concern, some people, being that it's a new vaccine. I went and took it. Probably half my staff has received it. I understand there's hesitancy on getting it. That's personal choice. We don't mandate it for our staff because it's not an approved vaccine, but we encourage it strongly. So just stay patient, work with it. If you have questions, please contact your healthcare facility to provide you any answers on it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I could do probably 40 minutes on if you are in the freezer business right now or an electrical engineer, you're making a ton of money, because all of these pharmacies, all of these facilities, most of these hospitals were not set up to hold freezers at below 95 degrees. So going along with the getting the vaccine out, many of the places where these vaccines have to end up were not and are not yet equipped to handle this. So as the village president said about markets kind of taking hold of development, right now places are being retrofitted all across the United States, including in Waukesha County, to allow for these freezing systems for the vaccine. So a whole cottage industry has essentially popped up around this distribution. Random fact. All right, let's move on. Police Department, their accomplishments this year, over 1,300 hours of virtual training, joint exercises with the fire department, and again, they helped create an emergency operations center out of Village Hall. So we have redundancy, we have more than one location with backup power and internet and all of the things that we would need. We could essentially lift the dispatch center if we needed to and bring that over to Village Hall. So none of our operations, safety operations, would be interrupted in the event of a natural or otherwise disaster. Their goals going into 21, more training. Command staff has not seen a shakeup, but we have the chief will be retiring this year. So therefore we created an assistant chief position, filled that position with a lieutenant. series of promotions through the lieutenant command staff. So we will be very heavily invested and planning for the succession of the police department this coming year. And I want to thank Chief Schmidt for his over 40 years of service to this community. Moving on, the utilities department met all of their goals for energy and otherwise use this year. We upgraded our iron filtration plant. So hopefully if you were part of the people in Mugwanago that would occasionally get that rusty water at the beginning of turning on your pipes, all of that should disappear. Next year, our sanitary sewer is doing a major upgrade on the lift station, and that lift station serves approximately 35% of the village. So that'll be a big important project. Moving on, we have the Chapman Farms single-family subdivision, which the village president spoke about. That roundabout is in. The base course of that roadway is in, and as stated, that will be 88 single-family homes and 44 duplexes in 24 buildings, adding 300 to 325 residents over the next decade and 70 to 80 school-aged children. We also spoke about the Point Apartments. You can see those pictures. Those started in June. Those are now complete. And as said, there's 89 with the showroom, but an office, but 87 units for rent, and those are almost 70% completed. Also along that stretch of Main Street headed towards the downtown, Kay's Dance Academy moved into their new building, which we're very excited about. 3 dance rooms, large wraparound porch, picture in the PowerPoint. Hopefully we're all on that page. The next one is Espresso Love Coffee is going to be very soon. The canopy at the Clark Station is going to come down. We Energies has pulled the electricity from that building. So the demolition there will take place, and that will be replaced with a multi-thousand square foot coffee shop and additional retail space of some sort, and then a few apartments upstairs. This project, the village was a part of to the tune of about $110,000. We had some federal community development block grant money that we've had since 1989. I believe we made exactly 1 loan out of that program, and then it was repaid, and it had been earning interest that whole time. And the finance director was able to defederalize that money a year or 2 ago, which removed the federal requirements for its distribution and use, and therefore it could be converted into any such program that the village desired. And the village board chose to continue that money along its path of community development and partnered with Espresso Love Coffee to remediate and demolish and rebuild on that site. The next slide is Maple Center. We've been talking about this project for about 2 years now. It is still on schedule to go ahead. We're hoping to begin construction on the roadway this coming spring. And again, that's a mixed use community, 32 acres of residential, parks and amenities, and retail space. Moving on to a new project, the outdoor performance stage. You'll see the next 2 slides are charrettes of the front and back. The concession stage is the one that it has well, they both kind of have pyramids on the front, and they both say Indian head. So the one that goes like this is the concession stand, and the one that goes like that is the actual stage. And if you go to the next page that has the map, you will see that it's going to be located behind Village Hall in Indian Head Park along the Mugwanago River, adjacent to Phantom Lake. We're looking at about an area that can house or seat 1,300 people. We have about 800 parking spots within 2,000 linear feet of walking. You can see there's the concession stage on the left and the stage on the right. And we are in the 3rd stage of design on this, and we anticipate construction taking place from this spring to hopefully September on the stage portion, where we will ribbon cut the stage portion, and then construction will take place on the concession. Should have done that backwards to the camera, but you get the gist. Next slide, we're going to do between 4 and 5 concerts. We currently have 4 already scheduled: June 11th, July 9th, August 7th, and September 11th. The September 11th concert will have a fireworks show in the middle of it over Phantom Lake. And as you can see on the other side, there is a current list of sponsors, including the Rotary Club of Mugwanago. And those current sponsors have contributed over $40,000 in either cash contributions or in-kind contributions. For example, the Rotary Club will be working with the high school to build a temporary, movable, attachable, detachable stage that will serve as the temporary concert point until we ribbon cut on the actual outdoor performance stage. I'd like to thank all of our other current sponsors, Lynch Motor Vehicle Group, which is financing the band tent that will go over the stage, Citizen Bank, Banker Wire, Touchpad Electronics, Bryan Builders, Anderson Commercial, Campbell Construction, Freedom Fireworks, and most recently, Pro Healthcare needs to be added to this list because they have also made a contribution to this cause. Next slide, you can see some of our vendors that have committed. We've got a lot of local vendors, again, including the Rotary Club, E&S Sweets, David Allen Allen's, Espresso Love Coffee, the Hive Tap Room, Toothpicks Catering, and East Troy Brewery. What you'll notice about the vendors that we're working with is they are all locally owned small businesses from the two communities that have done work in the surrounding area, and we're very much looking forward to bringing our local food and beverage talent and making that available for what I anticipate are going to be thousands and thousands of people over the course of this concert series. The next few slides touch on some of our industrial park developments that the village president mentioned. Touchpad Electronics with their facility that is about $2.25 million. That was completed this year. And you'll see on that slide over $33 million in assessed value has been created between 2018 and 2020 in the industrial park. Those numbers come from an impact analysis that the village conducted on its own economic development efforts. We actually brought in a third party to do an analysis of the village's economic development activities so we could get an unbiased look at the impacts. And three terms that'll be important over the next few slides: direct, indirect, and induced impact of a development project. Direct impact is the total amount of additional expenditure directly contributed to construction or other investment in capital. So when we talk about a building and we say it's a $12 million building, that's the direct investment. That's the money that was either brought in cash or borrowed to buy the actual components that were then put into or on top of the ground. Indirect impacts are the goods and services that are created when they're purchased from suppliers. So you order carpet, someone has to show up and lay that carpet. There's glue that goes with the carpet. You need a trowel in order to lay the glue. You need a vehicle to get the components there. So over the course of the investment made by the village and or the business, there's multiple layers of investment that is carrying forward, and we try and capture as much of that locally as we can. The third one is the induced impacts. These are tertiary expenses. Someone builds a building in Mugwanago. They hire an employee. That employee moves to the area and takes out a bank loan for a home. That's an induced impact. These are tertiary, third level expenses and contributions that take place over time due to the nature of the development taking place. It's the spending from the suppliers, the manufacturers, the employees, the contractors. The total impact of the TID 5, where we currently have 5 buildings up, 5 buildings up, is over $200 million in direct, indirect, and induced impact. The village's contribution was a little over $10 million. So that shows you the multiplication, the multiplicative, the impact of the taxpayers' investment is almost 20 times in total what was originally put up due to the expenses and the loans and the employee expenses and stopping for lunch and dropping off your dry cleaning and taking your kids to daycare on the way to the new job, things like that. We did the same impact of TID number 4, and this one has a much longer way to go. As you can see on the slide, it is the area around Village Hall, and the only real major redevelopment that's taken place thus far is the Point Apartments, and that's about a $13 million project. We will have, I guarantee we will have other projects happening in this area over the next year. But as you can see, the total, it's about 15, 17, and 9. So we're somewhere in the $40 million range of total impacts of TID 4. And then of Chapman Farms, the total projected impact is about $110 million, where the village installed the streetlights and Chapman Farms Boulevard and the roundabout. So to wrap up, village-wide, the largest growth in equalized value has been in manufacturing. That's Cognitively, that makes sense. That's most of the big development has taken place through these big buildings. They are very large, one-shot expenses. You spend $15 million on a building. In order for the village to get that type of tax value out of a home or something like that, you'd need close to 40, 50, maybe even 60 homes. So you'll see these things come in swings as a subdivision builds, as an industrial park builds. The value and tax collections of the village tend to go up over time. Factors contributing to our success: strong financial management, as was mentioned, our proactive business and retention and recruitment strategies, which is an annual program that the village has to meet with surrounding businesses, business owners, investors, bankers, developers to see what's happening, and the effective use of tools such as tax increment financing, land banking, and other incentives to bring investments to our community. Closing in on the end, between 2018 and 2019, over 478,000 square feet of new development has taken place in the industrial park. For every $1 the village invested, the private sector invested 3.38. The total impact is over 200 million, and the total direct, indirect, and induced job creation is expected to be over 1,300 jobs. There's going forward, TID 4. Again, there's a ratio for every dollar we spent there. It was 3.64. Chapman Farms, for every dollar we invested, the private sector invested $22. And again, the economic impacts and job creation is listed. A couple more things before I wrap up. The village's efforts over the last several years have resulted in recognition for our economic development efforts. In 2020 alone, the Wisconsin Economic Development Association and the International Economic Development Council awarded the village 3 different awards for our public-private partnerships, which was the project with Banker Wire in the industrial park, for our multi-year development program, which was the total project of the industrial park, and for our business retention and expansion program, which is the tool that we use to drum up that interest and figure out what is happening, what can happen, and how the village can be a catalyst. As far as COVID, we did a survey of our downtown businesses, which led to the creation of the Small Business Grant Program. We received 27 responses. About 50% of our businesses had to scale back, and 15% of the responding businesses experienced closure. The major concerns are paying utility bills, purchasing and receiving inventory, which is still an issue with the national shipping. They want communication of financial assistance opportunities and of opportunities for marketing and advertising. If you go to the next slide, you will see that turned into a partnership with Citizens Bank to provide grants of up to $5,000 to help small businesses, including for rent and mortgage, employee payroll, exterior lighting, signage improvements, technological improvements, or marketing. The last few slides are some of the pictures of the events that we still did have in some form or capacity in the community, even though they might have changed. The Winters Farmers Market is now at the Phantom Lakes YMCA camp. I've been there numerous times. It's really great, lots of vendors. I'm glad that's still happening. Midnight Magic still did happen, albeit on a smaller scale, and there's some pictures of that. Santa photos, the parade took place, things like that. Fall Fest also did take place, again, on a limited scope, but somehow a larger scope it seems these things are taking place on. No matter how the environment seeks to compress these things, I believe there's a groundswell of our community and small business owners that are ready to get back to it if we can only find the way to facilitate that with being outdoors and other safety precautions. Finally, our Economic Development Summit of 2020 was postponed because it is an in-person event. It works best as an in-person event, and we postponed that this August, but I anticipate that it will be back online for 2021, and hopefully I will see most of the people on this video feed, plus other people from the surrounding area with us. I know there was a lot. I talked fast. It was a short amount of time. Oh no, it wasn't, about 20 minutes. Wow. I want to thank you for paying attention, and I'll turn it back over.
There were a couple
Questions?
of questions that were put in. I don't know if you have them. One of them was an interest to all of us who live in the community about the potential long-term outlook for development in retail, restaurants, and hotels at this point.
I think I need to take them individually. Hotels, almost none. That market has been tanked, and right as that market tanked, remind me, Fred, what just opened in New Berlin? There was a hotel that just opened up the road. So we have done studies. We do studies almost every year on the hotel market. And the fact of the matter is that tourism and travel has been hit very strongly in a negative way. And it's something we'll have to keep plugging away at, but I don't anticipate that for the next 5 years or so. Same thing with retail. The days of mid-box and big box stores are, I don't want to say they're over, but they're definitely stagnant. What you're seeing is the growth of mom and pop shops again, the return to the downtown, the return to spending locally, and that's something that our various committees, including the downtown committee and the village board, is supporting. What else? What other questions were there?
I have some coming through here, so.
Sure.
What is the status of the Maple Avenue development?
Maple.
Must be Maple Court.
Maple Court?
Yep, people, you can
Yeah, is that
type in the
the,
chat. Type in your question in the chat.
Yep.
That would work.
So there is a slide on the Maple Center update. We plan on starting road construction this spring. And then we're locked into a developer's agreement with the developer that as soon as the road is complete, within 24 months' time, they need to have 2 buildings complete. So as soon as the village starts and completes its work, the rest of that project will take place. What else?
If
Other-
anyone wants to raise their hand, we can take you off mute, or else if you want to type in a question for us. Okay, here comes another one. Any brew pub prospects? I think in the community.
Sure. Well, I don't have anything flashy to disclose right now about it because we don't have any plans, but I can tell you that David Allen Allens has secured acreage for their future relocation and expansion, and they're going to go from their footprint, which is several thousand, if it was 5,000, I'd be surprised, to a 16,000 square foot building, multiple levels, multiple bar areas, a venue for, what's the word I'm looking for?
Banquet hall.
Thank you. It will have a banquet facility as a part of it. So if you've often heard me say this, 80% of our development is going to come from people who are already here. And in that vein, to answer the brew house expansion, what's happening, one of our local businesses is choosing to quadruple their footprint and offer even more to the village. So that'll be one of the things we're working on. We're also working on Aman's Liquor, which is a liquor store and a bar tasting room, which the liquor licenses have been approved for the north end of the village, and I anticipate plans coming forward for that in the next couple months.
Question for John. If the mom and pop shops in the downtown area are on the upswing, what's the status for Highway 83?
I assume we're talking about construction or a reroute. I'll try and hit both. As far as construction, we have a master plan that shows the reconstruction of at least our utilities, which are underground in the 2023 to 2025 range. When that happens, the reconstruction of the top level will also have to take place because I don't know if you've been to other states where you just see those saw cuts right down the middle of the road with little saw cuts going out to the side. State of Wisconsin does not allow for that. As far as the reroute, we have had introductory conversations with the Department of Transportation. I say reroute and or serious modifications to the existing footprint of 83. And where we're at now is the engineers are taking a design that was recommended by the downtown committee to the village board, and that is being engineered into a file that we can turn over to the state of Wisconsin, and then they can overlay that with the existing footprint of 83 to determine what they will allow and won't allow. And this includes things, one of the designs even includes shifting the entirety of 83 closer towards Walgreens would be the best way to say it, using some of that terrace area in order to better facilitate traffic movement. As far as a long-term transfer of ownership between the village and the state, those conversations haven't really gone anywhere yet. First step is infrastructure. Second step is what's going to happen above it on an engineering basis. And then the third step would be what's going to happen over the next 20 years.
Okay. Next question, is additional parking going in behind the old Citgo station in town?
That's the Clark Station.
Oh,
The
sorry.
Citgo,
Oh,
so the Citgo is downtown next to the Cousins. Its
Okay.
gas pumps are currently turned off. It's not leaking, but they're turned off because there was some sort of statewide mandate relating to fuel stations and cells, and you simply had to make an upgrade or shut down. So this one is shutting down. The C-store is still open. I have no idea what's happening. It's been on the market. There have been numerous people who have looked at that property. The issue is it's environmentally contaminated and there's some elevation issues. Not contaminated in the sense that there's a bunch of stuff underground, but it's a gas station, which means you're going to run into something. I do anticipate, I've written about this to the village board, that at some point over the next year, I'll be bringing at least the concept of the problems and challenges of that gas station to the village, seeing if there's any interest or opportunity in doing something there.
But John, we will be getting some with Expresso Love.
Yes.
Part of it is we will get some.
We will get 6 municipal spots at the reconstruction of the Clark gas station, and also the new village planner, John Fellows. One of his tasks this year is to complete a parking study of the downtown, which is set to tell us how much parking do we have? Are we short parking? If yes, how much? If we're not short parking, what are the challenges of it? Is it poor signage? Is it needs to be relocated? So that's something we're undertaking this year. We also did study the vacancy rates in our downtown, and while it may seem to people that there's a lot of vacant buildings, it's only about 5%, and the single largest chunk of that 5% is the what they call the old Deja Vu building on the corner. It's that blue-gray triangle building across from Badger Burger. And I'm hoping that that gets leased this year. We're very close on working with a new store to take over that space. Anything else?
No other questions.
Okay,
Okay,
well,
let's call for
Thank you.
questions.
thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it this morning.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us this morning and being patient through the slide advancement and such. We have a screen up in here that sometimes it didn't match. So if you saw us looking over here or up here, that's what was going on. I hope we don't have to do this again next year in this format. I hope we can have 90 or 100 of us here in this room for this event. But as we all have learned to do, we'll wait and see what happens and remain flexible. Again, thanks to everybody for coming out. I'd like to thank our guests and of course our presenters for putting together the information and educating us on what's going on in the village. I would like to thank Rachel Gabriel, who honchoed this planning effort, as well as Steph Bonesteel at Citizens Bank for leading our effort in terms of the RSVPs and putting together the lists and all that. So it was definitely a team effort. So thanks to everybody. But as we leave and end this meeting, we're gonna, as Rotarians end every meeting, if the Rotarians in the room could stand, please, and we're gonna recite the four-way pledge. As we leave this meeting and go back out into the world of life and work, of the things we think, say, and do, let us remember to ask ourselves first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thanks everybody online for connecting in. Stay safe and have a great week. Oh, and remember, click on that link to go buy your drive-through beer garden box for the food pantries. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, thanks.